A single escape pod spun slowly toward its doom. Nathan Cole pressed his palm against the cracked viewport, staring at the dark swirl of the black hole looming ahead. "Guess this is it," he muttered to no one. The pod creaked ominously, the strain of the black hole's pull threatening to tear it apart. Its once sleek exterior was scorched and battered, a testament to the hell Nathan had survived before ending up here. Betrayed, abandoned, and now left to die at the edge of the universe, all because humanity's ingenuity had become too much of a threat. It had been a routine diplomatic meeting. At least, that's what Nathan had been told. The Council of Alzinth had extended an olive branch after years of mistrust toward humanity. Nathan, a decorated engineer and pilot, had been selected to represent Earth. It wasn't every day you got to shake hands with the galaxy's elite. Except those hands had been holding knives. "We have no choice," the Zinthian Chancellor had declared, as Nathan's hands were bound and he was dragged toward a waiting transport. "Humanity's potential is too dangerous to ignore. You are proof of that." Potential? You mean the fact that we solve problems instead of arguing about them for decades? Nathan had spat. "Yeah, real dangerous." The Chancellor's eyes, pale, glowing orbs devoid of empathy, narrowed. "You'll see the wisdom in our actions, in time." The transport's destination, a black hole, a perfect execution chamber where nothing, no screams, no bodies, no debris, would escape. But Nathan wasn't the type to roll over and accept fate. Even as the pod rattled and systems blinked offline one by one, his mind churned. "All right, Cole. If they wanted you dead, they should have sent a bigger black hole," he murmured, forcing himself to focus. The pod's instrumentation was primitive compared to the tech Nathan was used to, but it would have to do. The gravity shear had reduced half the onboard systems to sparking junk, and the emergency oxygen supply was ticking down. A quick inventory revealed a toolkit, a dwindling power cell, and a partially intact fusion generator. It wasn't much, but it was something. As the black hole's event horizon loomed closer, Nathan noticed something strange, a faint, pulsing glow emanating from a cluster of twisted matter near the edge of the singularity. It wasn't natural. The color was wrong, shifting and shimmering like oil on water. "Now, what are you?" he muttered, leaning closer. The pod shuddered violently, but Nathan's instincts screamed at him to investigate the anomaly. Whatever it was, it didn't belong here. And if it didn't belong, maybe it could save him. Using the last dregs of the pod's maneuvering thrusters, Nathan directed the craft toward the glowing distortion. As he approached, the glow intensified, casting the cramped interior in shifting hues. The anomaly was a tear in reality itself, a swirling, crackling rift that seemed to defy the black hole's pull. Fragments of energy spiraled out from it, dancing like fireflies. Nathan had seen a lot of strange things in his career, but this was beyond anything he could comprehend. He flipped open the pod's remaining sensor array, rigging it to analyze the rift. The readouts were nonsense, spikes in energy that shouldn't exist, gravitational waves that reversed themselves, and radiation signatures from elements that defied the periodic table. "This thing shouldn't be here," he muttered, his brow furrowing. But then again, neither should he. The pod groaned, its structural integrity reaching its limits. Nathan knew he had to act fast. "If it can defy physics, maybe I can use it to rewrite my own odds," he said, already ripping apart the pod's control panel to reroute power into the generator. With the pod's systems cannibalized, Nathan rerouted all remaining power into a makeshift tether, aiming to anchor the craft to the anomaly's energy field. It was a desperate plan, but desperation was all he had. As the tether fired into the glowing rift, the entire pod jolted violently. Lights flared, the fusion generator hummed at an ear-splitting pitch, and Nathan felt his stomach lurch as the pod was yanked sideways. For a moment, everything was chaos. Sparks flew, alarms screamed, and the viewport was consumed by blinding light. Then, silence. When Nathan opened his eyes, he wasn't spinning toward the event horizon anymore. The pod was floating in a strange, shimmering void, a pocket of space-time that defied everything he knew. "All right," Nathan said, exhaling a shaky breath. "Step 1, don't die. Step 2." He looked out at the anomaly, its energy rippling like a living thing. "Step 2, figure out how to turn this into the biggest middle finger the galaxy's ever seen." Nathan Cole floated in a place that shouldn't exist. Outside his battered escape pod, reality twisted and shimmered, a swirling maelstrom of impossible colors and energy. The anomaly, his savior, pulsed with a rhythm that felt almost alive, its tendrils of light coiling and stretching like a heartbeat made visible. "This isn't normal space," Nathan muttered, tapping at the remaining shards of his pod's sensor array. The readings were absurd, gravity inverting itself, energy flowing in patterns that defied known physics, and radiation levels that should have fried him but barely registered on his body. "Congratulations, Cole," he muttered to himself, running a hand through his messy hair. "You've officially fallen off the map." But even in this madness, Nathan's instincts took over. He wasn't dead yet, and as long as he could think, he could build. He glanced at the remaining components in his pod, a fusion generator on its last legs, a depleted power cell, scraps of alloy, and a toolkit barely holding itself together. "It's not much," he said, a faint grin tugging at his lips, "but I've built starships out of worse." For days, weeks, time had no meaning here. Nathan worked. He dismantled every system in the escape pod, repurposing circuits, conduits, and plating to craft something new. The anomaly's energy became both his fuel and his inspiration. By rigging the fusion generator to tap into the anomaly's flow, he created a stable power source unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. "This stuff doesn't just bend the rules," he marveled, watching as the generator hummed to life with a soft blue glow. "It rewrites them." With power secured, he focused on building a vessel that could survive this impossible void. The skeletal frame of his new craft took shape, a jagged amalgamation of scavenged materials and glowing energy conduits. It wasn't pretty, but it was functional, and it was his. The anomaly's energy wasn't just a power source, it was a weapon. Nathan discovered that by channeling it through magnetic fields, he could create micro-singularities, tiny black holes that collapsed anything they touched. The first test obliterated a chunk of alloy, leaving no trace behind. Nathan stared at the empty space where the alloy had been, a cold smile forming on his lips. "That'll do." As weeks turned into months, Nathan's ship evolved from a crude survival craft into a sleek, terrifying vessel. He dubbed it Oblivion's Reach, a name as ominous as the weaponry it housed. Its hull gleamed with a strange iridescence, a side effect of the anomaly's energy permeating every system. The ship's primary weapon was a masterpiece of engineering and revenge, a projector capable of firing controlled black hole bursts. These weren't ordinary singularities. They were anomalies born from the same rift that had saved Nathan, capable of erasing anything they consumed from existence. But Oblivion's Reach wasn't just a weapon. It was a fortress. The anomaly's energy reinforced the ship's shields, making them impervious to conventional attacks. Its propulsion system allowed it to slip between dimensions, bypassing normal space entirely. Nathan stood on the bridge, a compact utilitarian space dominated by a single control panel and a viewport that offered a breathtaking view of the anomaly. His reflection in the glass showed a man transformed, his eyes sharper, his face leaner, and his expression colder. "They thought a black hole would be my grave," he murmured, fingers trailing over the control panel. "Now it's my weapon." The first target was a simple one, an asteroid caught in the anomaly's orbit. Nathan powered up the black hole projector, his hands steady as he calibrated the weapon. Energy crackled along the ship's hull, and a faint hum filled the air. "Let's see what you can do," he muttered, pressing the trigger. A sphere of pure darkness erupted from the projector, streaking toward the asteroid. The singularity expanded as it made contact, swallowing the massive rock hole. Within seconds, the asteroid was gone. No debris, no trace, nothing. Nathan leaned back in his chair, a slow grin spreading across his face. Perfect. Unbeknownst to Nathan, the anomaly's activity hadn't gone unnoticed. Concord monitoring stations near the black hole had detected strange energy fluctuations for months, but the latest readings, massive energy spikes, and the disappearance of an asteroid set off alarms. What could generate this kind of power? A Concord scientist murmured, staring at the live feed of the anomaly. Whatever it is, replied a sleek reptilian officer, his golden eyes narrowing. It's not natural. Word spread quickly through the Concord Council, and suspicion grew. Was this the work of a rogue faction, a weapon test, or something more dangerous? Nathan wasn't interested in staying hidden. Once Oblivion's reach was fully operational, he hacked into the Concord's communication network. A holographic transmission appeared in the chambers of the Concord Council, showing Nathan seated on his ship's bridge. "To the council that betrayed me," he began, his voice calm but laced with venom. "You thought a black hole would erase me. Instead, it made me unstoppable." The council members exchanged uneasy glances as Nathan continued. "I'm not here for your apologies. I'm here to show you what happens when you underestimate humanity." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the council in stunned silence. Nathan's first act of vengeance was swift and brutal. A Concord fleet sent to investigate the anomaly disappeared without a trace, its ships consumed by black hole projectiles. No survivors, no wreckage, just silence. As news of the fleet's destruction spread, panic gripped the galaxy. The Concord scrambled to respond, but they had no idea what or who they were dealing with. On the bridge of Oblivion's reach, Nathan watched the chaos unfold with grim satisfaction. "They wanted to erase me," he said to himself. "Now I'll erase them." The galaxy was in chaos. Concord officials whispered of a rogue force wielding a power beyond comprehension. Entire fleets had vanished, consumed by an untraceable weapon. Rumors spread like wildfire, an experimental ship gone rogue, a lost civilization seeking revenge, or even a cosmic anomaly turned sentient. The truth, however, was far more terrifying. A single human, presumed dead, had not only survived, but harnessed the power of the black hole they had thrown him into. Nathan Cole was no longer a man, he was an unstoppable force. And his weapon? Oblivion's reach, a name whispered in hushed tones across the galaxy. Nathan's next strike wasn't silent. This time, he wanted them to see. He emerged from subspace in the heart of a Concord trade route, his ship's blackened hull glinting faintly against the light of a nearby star. Ahead of him stretched a convoy of freighters, escorted by a small fleet of warships. Nathan scanned the fleet, his face expressionless. The Concord ships reacted instantly, broadcasting warnings and readying their weapons. Nathan ignored them, calmly flipping switches on his control panel. "Let's make it clear," he muttered, engaging the black hole projector. A sphere of darkness erupted from the ship, hurtling toward the fleet. The Concord's energy shields flared brilliantly, but the singularity ignored them, tearing through the lead warship as though it were made of paper. In seconds, the vessel was gone, erased from existence. The freighters scattered in panic, and the remaining warships fired desperately, their energy blasts dissipating harmlessly against Nathan's shields. On board a Concord flagship, a reptilian commander barked orders, his scales rippling with agitation. "What is this weapon? Identify the ship." But the ship had no signature, no identifying marks. It was a ghost in the void. Nathan fired again, obliterating another warship before vanishing into subspace. The entire confrontation lasted less than 2 minutes, but the message was clear. The galaxy was no longer safe from him. The Concord Council convened in emergency session, their ornate chamber filled with tension. Holographic displays projected images of the obliterated fleets, alongside the faint, grainy footage of Oblivion's reach. "This thing is a threat to the stability of the galaxy," growled High Arbiter Cale Van, a towering feline alien with silver fur. "We must eliminate it immediately." "And how do you propose we do that?" retorted the avian delegate, her iridescent feathers shimmering. Our weapons are useless. Our fleets are being erased as if they never existed. A silence fell over the chamber. Then, a voice spoke from the shadows. "We know what it is," said Trenix, an insectoid engineer with a faint, chittering voice. Or rather, who it is. The room erupted into murmurs. Trenix stepped forward, his reflective exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber's lights. "This is no rogue AI or lost technology. It's a human, Nathan Cole, the man you condemned to the black hole." Kael'van's fur bristled. Impossible. No one could survive that. "And yet, here we are," Trenix replied, his mandibles clicking. "He has turned your execution into a weapon fueled by your arrogance." Inside Oblivion's reach, Nathan worked tirelessly. The anomaly's energy had proven limitless, and he continued to refine his ship's capabilities. Each test of the black hole projector revealed new potential, from creating larger singularities to firing bursts that distorted space-time itself. But Nathan wasn't just building a weapon, he was building a legacy. On the bridge, holographic displays flickered with intercepted Concord transmissions. Nathan leaned back in his chair, his expression cold as he watched the panic spread. "They're afraid," he said to himself. "Good. Let them feel what they made me feel." Desperate to stop him, the Concord assembled a coalition of their most advanced fleets. Hundreds of ships converged on the black hole's edge, armed with experimental weaponry designed to neutralize Oblivion's reach. Nathan was ready. He emerged from subspace directly in their path, the anomaly's glow casting an eerie light over his ship's hull. The fleet immediately opened fire, a storm of energy blasts converging on his position. The first wave of attack struck his shields, which shimmered and absorbed the energy like water hitting a rock. Nathan smiled grimly. "My turn," he said, activating the projector. A cascade of singularities erupted from the ship, each one consuming a Concord vessel in seconds. The battlefield became a chaotic swirl of light and shadow, as ships vanished one by one into nothingness. On the bridge of a Concord flagship, the commander's voice trembled. "We're outmatched. Retreat!" Nathan let them go. He had made his point. As the remnants of the Concord fleet limped back to their territories, Nathan broadcast another message across their networks. This time, his face was shadowed, his voice calm but unyielding. "You made me a monster," he said. "Now you'll see what monsters can do." The transmission ended, but the galaxy's terror was just beginning. Nathan Cole's ship, Oblivion's Reach, became a specter of destruction. Moving through the galaxy like a ghost, it struck with precision and vanished before retaliation could begin. Every attack was calculated, every target chosen to dismantle the Concord's power structure piece by piece. At first, he focused on military installations. Fleets stationed at key starbases were consumed in black hole bursts, leaving nothing but empty space where once mighty armadas had stood. Then he turned his attention to infrastructure, energy relays, communication hubs, and supply lines, all erased without a trace. On a barren moon orbiting a shattered starbase, a Concord officer surveyed the devastation. His scaled hands trembled as he muttered to himself, "It's like he's not even leaving ghosts." Inside the grand chamber of the Concord Council, the air was thick with tension. Holographic projections of Nathan's attacks flickered on the crystalline walls, each one a grim reminder of the escalating destruction. "This is unsustainable," growled High Arbiter Kael'van, his silver fur bristling. "He's dismantling our entire infrastructure. If we don't stop him, the Concord will collapse." "And how do you propose we stop someone who's untouchable?" retorted the avian delegate, her voice sharp. "Every fleet we send is erased. Every trap we lay is circumvented. He's always 3 steps ahead." A silence fell over the chamber, until Trenix, the insectoid engineer, clicked his mandibles and stepped forward. "Perhaps it is not about stopping him," he said, his voice calm. "Perhaps it is about understanding him." Kael'van snarled. "And what is there to understand? He's a weapon, a human weapon we created." Trenix tilted his head. "Exactly. A weapon you forged in betrayal. You made him what he is. Perhaps it is time to admit that. Earth, too, had been watching the galaxy burn. From their place on the fringes of the Concord, humanity was both awed and horrified by what Nathan had become. On one hand, he was a symbol of resilience, a human who had defied the impossible. On the other, he was a force of vengeance that threatened to destabilize the entire galaxy. At a United Nations assembly, President Eleanor Briggs addressed a room filled with anxious faces. "Nathan Cole's actions are not without reason," she said, "but they are also not without consequence. He is a reminder of what humanity can do when pushed to the brink, and perhaps what we should never do again." Nathan's next message to the Concord was chilling in its simplicity. A single holographic image of their central energy hub, a massive structure orbiting a binary star system, was transmitted across their networks. No words, no threats, just the target. The Concord scrambled to respond, dispatching every available ship to defend the hub. The binary stars glowed like twin beacons as the largest fleet ever assembled in Concord history prepared for battle. When Oblivion's reach arrived, the Concord fleet was ready. Thousands of ships formed an impenetrable wall around the energy hub, their weapons primed and shields overlapping in a near-perfect defense. Nathan hovered at the edge of the system, his ship's blackened hull reflecting the light of the twin stars. Inside the cockpit, he studied the fleet's formation with cold precision. "Overkill," he muttered, "but let's see how it holds." The first black hole burst, ripped through the outer layers of the fleet, erasing entire squadrons in an instant. The Concord responded with a storm of energy blasts, but Oblivion's reach was untouchable, its anomaly-powered shields absorbing the attacks like water on stone. Nathan's ship weaved through the chaos, firing singularities with devastating accuracy. The Concord's carefully laid plans unraveled as their ships fell one by one, consumed by the void. On the bridge of the lead flagship, the reptilian commander's voice was frantic. "We can't hold him! Retreat and protect the core!" But Nathan wasn't aiming for the core. He was aiming for the binary stars themselves. As the battle raged, Nathan activated Oblivion's Reach's most devastating weapon, a singularity projector capable of destabilizing entire star systems. A massive sphere of darkness erupted from the ship, streaking toward the binary stars. The stars began to collapse, their gravitational forces warping and merging into a single unstable mass. The energy hub, caught in the resulting chaos, disintegrated in a blinding flash. Nathan watched the destruction from a safe distance, his face emotionless. The Concord fleet had fled, and the hub was gone. The binary system was now a swirling void, a scar in the galaxy. As news of the battle spread, the Concord Council faced an undeniable truth. Nathan Cole was unstoppable. Desperate, they reached out to Earth, offering reparations and peace if humanity would help stop him. At the same time, a small coalition of humans and alien sympathizers set out to find Nathan. Among them was Dr. Isla Chen, a former colleague and close friend who believed she could still reach him. "Nathan isn't a monster," she said, addressing the coalition. "He's a man who's been hurt beyond measure. But if we don't stop him, he'll burn the galaxy down." The coalition's ship approached the edge of the anomaly, where Oblivion's Reach hovered like a predator in the void. Inside the cockpit, Nathan watched their approach, his hand hovering over the weapon controls. "Let's see if you've come to talk, or to die," he said, his voice a whisper. The screen faded to black. The coalition's ship, a sleek craft with reinforced hulls and energy shields designed for diplomacy rather than battle, slowed as it approached Oblivion's Reach. Inside, Dr. Isla Chen stood at the viewport, her heart pounding as the dark silhouette of Nathan's ship loomed in the swirling energy of the anomaly. "He's waiting," Isla said softly, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. The coalition's commander, a grizzled human veteran, frowned. "Or he's deciding whether to fire." The bridge crew fell silent as the transmission light blinked. Isla took a deep breath and opened the channel. "Nathan," she said, her voice calm but firm, "it's Isla. We're here to talk." Inside Oblivion's reach, Nathan stared at the holographic display of Isla's face. For the first time in months, something flickered in his expression. Recognition, hesitation. He leaned back in his chair, his fingers tapping against the control panel. "Talk?" Nathan's voice crackled over the transmission. "I didn't think the Concord sent diplomats anymore. Last I checked, they sent fleets." "It's not the Concord," Isla replied. "It's us, your people, the ones who believed in you." Nathan's hand hovered over the weapon controls, his gaze narrowing. "Believed in me. They left me to rot. They didn't stop the Concord when I needed them." "We didn't know," Isla said, her tone heavy with regret. "We didn't know what they'd done to you. But we know now, and we need you to stop before there's nothing left to save." Isla continued, her words cutting through the silence. "You've made your point, Nathan. The galaxy knows what humanity can do. They know what you can do. But if you keep going, you're not just punishing them, you're destroying everything." Nathan's jaw tightened. "They deserve it." "Do they? Every colony, every family, every child caught in the crossfire, do they deserve it?" Isla leaned closer to the screen, her voice softening. "You've shown them what they feared. You've shown them their mistakes. But now you have to decide if you want to be their nightmare or their hope." The words hung in the air, echoing in the void. Inside Oblivion's reach, Nathan wrestled with himself. Images of the destruction he'd caused flashed through his mind. Fleets erased, planets scarred, lives lost. He had justified it as vengeance, as justice for humanity's betrayal. But now, Isla's words stirred something he thought he'd buried. Doubt. He glanced at the anomaly outside, its swirling energy a reminder of the impossible second chance he'd been given. "I didn't ask for this," Nathan said quietly, his voice trembling. "I didn't ask to be made into this." "And yet here you are," Isla replied. "You're the only one who can end this. The galaxy needs you, Nathan, not as a weapon, as a builder." Nathan closed his eyes, his fingers hovering over the controls. Slowly, he powered down the black hole projector. The lights in the ship dimmed as the weapon systems deactivated. He opened the channel again. "If I stop, if I stand down, what guarantees do I have that they won't betray us again?" Isla's gaze was steady. "None. But you'll have us, and we'll make sure they never forget what happens when they cross humanity." Nathan leaned back in his chair, exhaling deeply. "All right, Isla. Let's see if your hope is stronger than my hate." The Concord Council, desperate to avoid further destruction, agreed to a binding peace treaty with humanity. Reparations were made, and Earth was granted equal standing among the galactic powers. The treaty, however, came with a chilling condition. Humanity retained the right to use Oblivion's reach as a deterrent, ensuring the Concord would never dare betray them again. Nathan handed control of the ship to Earth's military, but he refused to return to the fold. "Let them have their peace," he told Isla, "but I'm not part of it." Years later, the galaxy bore scars from Nathan's campaign, but it also bore hope. The Concord restructured itself, adopting measures to prevent the exploitation of younger species. Humanity became a symbol of resilience, a species not to be underestimated. As for Nathan, he disappeared into the stars. Rumors spoke of a lone ship hovering near distant black holes, its pilot observing the void in silence. In the depths of an uncharted system, Oblivion's reach floated near a shimmering black hole. Inside, Nathan sat at the bridge, staring at the swirling anomaly. He reached for the controls but hesitated, his hand hovering. "Just in case," he muttered, a faint smile tugging at his lips. The ship's lights dimmed as it drifted further into the darkness, leaving the galaxy to wonder if its greatest weapon would ever return.